As the school year begins, don't forget to earn your badges with EdU. The website has a brand new look for the upcoming school year. Navigate easily across the new interface to learn strategies for using your favorite EdTech tools in your lessons. Check out the new curated collections and climb the EdU leaderboard. Visit the new look edubadges.com today.
Aloha, I'm Katie Ritter.
And I'm Justin Thomas, and this is the Restart Recharge podcast, a podcast by coaches for coaches. We bring the tips and tricks to help you in your everyday work as an instructional coach or whatever they call you in your school district.
So hopefully you're going to leave this episode with us today feeling just a little bit less on your own coaching island.
And we have a fun episode here today because as a coach in your district, you want to make sure that you are visible and are building those relationships with the educators and administrators. And however, it can always be important to market your school offerings to your school teachers, admin, and students. So we're going to explore ideas today, ideas and strategies that are used for various EdTech platforms to assist in creating wonderful graphics and visuals to display everywhere and everything that we do to assist our school in EdTech. So we'll dive into how we can market ourselves to work more efficiently within our school.
And we have a very first timer on the pod here as a special guest on this episode, don't we, Justin?
Yes, we do. I'll go ahead and introduce her now. It is Paige Greavy. Paige has joined Forward Edge here in 2017 upon graduation from college. She started as the marketing coordinator working alongside an external marketing consultant to provide the day-to-day marketing needs across all departments within Forward Edge. She went on to earn her master's in business administration with a specialization in marketing from the University of Cincinnati and is now the marketing manager for Forward Edge. She manages all marketing strategy, content creation, branding, digital marketing campaigns, relationships with manufacturers, trade show participation, and events, research, and analytics. So welcome in, Paige.
Welcome, Paige.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah. And what your bio doesn't say is you make this place go round.
That
so
is true.
I'll just throw that in there for you. Okay. And then we have another special guest today that I have the pleasure of introducing. That is Anna Marie Reinhardt. If you're a loyal listener, you've heard her on here a number of times before. But just as a reminder, Anna Marie taught as an intervention specialist prior to stepping into her current role as an instructional design coach here at Forward Edge. She worked with elementary, middle, and high school students, teaching all four core content areas, and working with a very wide variety of learners. She is now the instructional design coach in a pre-K through 8 building in one of the largest school districts in the state of Ohio. She was placed in the school after the building was awarded a grant for one-to-one iPad program for their 5th through 8th grade students. And now the entire building is one-to-one, and she is able to support all staff members and students in the building. She is also a Google certified educator, trainer, and coach, and she serves as a proud mentor coach for both us here at Forward Edge and the Verizon Innovative Learning Schools program. So Anna Marie, thanks for joining us again and welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Yeah. So Paige, we are going to kick it off with you. This topic is, this is where you kind of eat, live, and breathe in marketing. So we have been fortunate here on our coaching team to be able to pick your brain from time to time. But just provide a little bit more background just for folks who may not be as familiar with kind of what all is involved with marketing. Just give us a little bit of background of kind of what you do here at Forward Edge.
I oversee the kind of complete marketing strategy and implementation here at Forward Edge, and that really ranges from, anything to do with social media, websites, the analytics around all of those, and then, digital marketing campaigns, whether that's email campaigns or really any sort of like Google ads, Google paid ads, and then really large chunk of what we're doing now is events and trade shows. We need to, expand outside of this region. Mm-hmm. And so we're really trying to get in front of people and showcase who we are and what we do.
It's getting that word out on the street, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if you've ever gotten an email or seen an ad from Forward Edge, it's probably from Paige.
Yeah.
Paige, what was just kind of curious, like what was the biggest thing when you went into marketing? What was the biggest thing that kind of surprised you once you started working at Forward Edge? Like, oh, this is included in marketing.
I would say all of the back-end research and everything that goes into, creating the content. You have all of, the graphics and the creative side of things, but to get some of that content, you have to do the research. You have to research like the types of grants that are out there, and how that can be used to benefit a school. And I think that was the most surprising and more, not I guess surprising, but I didn't realize how much time you needed to put into that initial research and development to make sure that all the marketing that you're putting out there is, one, accurate, but also, gets the message across to the audience of what they need to get out of it.
Yeah, so your whole goal is really making sure people know Forward Edge, know what we're offering, know how to get a hold of us to get what they need.
Yeah, creating those, that compelling content and getting that out there in a variety of formats.
Awesome.
Well, all right, Anna Marie, how do you use these visual elements to market your coaching support to your school? Because as we kind of heard here from Paige, it's important to get your name out there in the school district. So how do you kind of do that?
Yeah, I would say this is super important in our role as a coach, and something that maybe we don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about. But the work that we do with teachers can be intimidating to some, especially if you have the word tech in your title. That can immediately turn some people off. So I think that kind of marketing myself as a coach and making flyers or email headers or social media things that I can send out to my staff, if I can make them kind of fun, lighthearted, comical, interesting to look at, there's a higher chance that a teacher maybe is going to want to work with me, or at the very least, they'll come and ask me how I made that, which immediately creates an opportunity to have some kind of conversation with that teacher.
Ooh, first of all, I love that as a good hook. But I also think, I think a lot of times, you said when you have tech in the name, it makes them nervous, which I wholeheartedly agree with. But I even just think for like any coach out there, just like even clarifying and marketing what you can even do for them. So many teachers and principals aren't really even familiar with like the work that a coach can do. Or on the flip side, they've had a coach before who maybe only worked with people who were like not doing so well in their teaching job. So kind of like reframing that too. So anyway, I just like that you said that, but I love the hook part, especially it's always good to have teachers want to recreate something that you did. So, anyway, we pulled these two together because it's kind of this unique idea. Like Anna Marie said, it's not something that we always talk about necessarily for coaches. Like a lot of the work, like you really do have to market yourself, and you really do kind of want to create like this brand for yourself as a coach in order to essentially like drum up business.
Yep.
We don't always think of it that way as a coach because we're a school and we don't necessarily think of like our teachers and students as business. But the reality is like coaches are not like third grade reading teachers. They can sometimes be like a luxury or seen as a luxury support position, and not always able to be funded. Unfortunately, it's just like the reality of it. So if people don't know what we do and how we can help them, then they might not be utilizing us. So anyway. That's kind of why we're bringing this session and picking Paige's brain too, in terms of from a marketing perspective. But give us, Paige, especially, like give us a little bit more, like when you think of creating a brand and making things visually appealing, like what are some things that you are thinking about for the people who are going to see this? And then I'm going to have a follow-up question for Anna Marie.
Yeah, I think the first key piece is, know your audience. Who's this gonna be positioned in front of? From a marketing perspective, the way a tech director looks at something versus a curriculum director or even a teacher is, completely different. Yeah. So knowing your audience, who's going to see that message, and then using consistent design elements, whether that's we like to say using just sticking to 2 fonts, consistent colors, whether that's brand colors or just if you have a specific idea for a presentation, a theme that you want to go with, staying within consistent colors throughout that presentation. That way it is cohesive and it looks nice, and it is more compelling than having all these different colors flying everywhere. And then also just getting to the point right away. You want to hit them within the first 2 seconds. You have about 2 to 5 seconds to really get somebody's attention. And if they don't know what they're supposed to get out of it in those first 2 to 5 seconds, you probably have already lost them. So really kind of hitting them up front with what they're going to get out of it.
Yeah, I feel like that's a super key piece of advice from a marketing perspective that I think as educators we can all relate to, like how many emails you're getting a day from parents, students, the staff. So anything that you can put out there, just how much limited time you have. So Anna Marie, I mean, I'm kind of directing it to you because from your perspective, you are coaching, but either one of you feel free to chime in. But so why would a coach really want to make their work more visually appealing or like how would you go about branding yourself as a coach within a larger school system?
Yeah, I can definitely speak to the first part. I guess branding myself, to be honest, I haven't really given that much thought to. I might have an idea once I finish answering the first part. But I attended a session at this Changing the Story conference at UC earlier this summer, and it was about instructional design and things that we should consider for students when designing like an online course, for example. And so much of what this presenter said are things that Paige has told all of us about our presentations, our designs, our marketing materials. And so one of those things is like we want to decrease the cognitive load that we're putting on the person looking at whatever we're presenting. So what that would mean is, keeping text to a minimum, not choosing like a million different fonts and super bright colors or, a bunch of different colors. And so I try and keep that in mind because, again, we know teachers' time is limited. So if I can give them something that they can quickly look at and they're not going to have to spend 10 minutes reading over it in order to get a better understanding of what I do, how I can help them, what a coaching cycle is, that is so much more impactful. And I think, honestly, if it's something you're printing out, that's less likely to end up in the trash. Just because, I've used coaching menus before that admittedly I think they were maybe a little bit too text heavy. And so I know on our team at Forward Edge, we've had several iterations, several different versions of like, here are the services I offer as a coach. And I think as we work on those, they're getting significantly less texty. They're becoming more, colorful and kind of brief. One of the things that comes to mind for me, I created in Canva this really small graphic. I think I used like an Instagram template. And it was like, what can I expect from coaching cycles with Anna Marie? And literally it was my Bitmoji in the middle and then like 6 keywords around me and then a QR code on the back for them to sign up. And it was just like, in my mind, a way of making something that can seem like a pretty big undertaking a little less scary and like straightforward. This is what you can expect.
I think the key point that you brought up there was it's not about dumbing it down or, even keeping things high level. It's really getting to a concise message as quickly as possible. And when you're creating those graphics, whether it's sending it out in an email, putting it into their mailbox, it's meeting them where they are, and it's also delivering a message that is easily understandable in a second. They know what they're trying to get out of it.
Yeah. Well, and I haven't really thought about this until hearing both of you kind of speak on that, but it really forces you as the individual to like really understand what you're doing or what you're trying to share and what are the most important pieces. So it like forces you to synthesize it and to then be able to better communicate that visually, which it seems like are like people can digest much easier when it's more visual. So.
Well, and you being the content person, you know the ins and outs of it, but they don't. This is the first time they're potentially seeing what you're doing. And so you have to be clear and concise in your messaging. Otherwise, your main goal might get lost in the shuffle and all the craziness. So
yeah.
And thinking,
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things too, where you talk about it, but with the why too aspect, like what am I trying to get from this, and have your teachers, because teachers have been in PD sessions where they are there for hours and they don't know what's going on. So if you can just hit it in that first 2 to 5 seconds, and they understand, okay, it's Anna Marie, she's got these different options. I can explore more using the QR code. It's simple. It's right there. If they're in, they can then sign up with you and move along with that.
I'm thinking about that brand question still.
I know. Well, I'm thinking about it more as we're talking too, and I'm thinking about like here at Forward Edge, like anything we do, I always ask you guys like just make sure Forward Edge logo's on it, right? Like I want that to be like our brand, not even from like a page branding guideline standpoint, but just like this is our brand, like this is our work. Like I want people to know when it's like Forward Edge did this kind of a thing. And so it's just got me thinking too, like how could, and I don't know, Paige, maybe I know I'm about to like totally put you on the spot, but like what are some ideas, like how could a coach like actually brand their work, whether you're a single coach on your own island or a huge coaching team like we know like many schools in Texas have, right, where there's 20 plus coaches to this team. Like how might they go about actually like branding their work? So anything they put out, from something as small as like a tech tip email or a newsletter to like the PD that they're doing, like how can they brand themselves?
Yeah, so if you think about it from a Forward Edge perspective, our brand is not only encompassed of like is not only made up of our logo, our brand colors, our brand fonts, but also the way we talk. We're transitioning to this very conversational tone, because we're such an open and collaborative group that we want that to be portrayed in what we're doing as well. So I think having a specific tone or a voice that is shown throughout your presentations, throughout your emails, is really key, along with having maybe you have 2 or 3 different colors that you use in a lot of your stuff, just to make sure that it's consistent across the board. And when people see those colors, when they hear you, or maybe it's even just adding your image in or your photo into things, they recognize it, they know what's coming, and hopefully it's a good response.
Yeah. Anna Marie, is that jogging any ideas like that you're thinking about in the context of your day as a coach?
Yeah, it is. I feel like kind of what Paige is saying too is like show your personality a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So I think that now I'm realizing I do this a little bit, but I could probably be a little bit more intentional. I try and keep things pretty funny. There's one coach that comes to mind. I met her at one of the Verizon Innovative Learning Schools conferences. Her name is Vonda Nutt, N-U-T-T, and she is a hoot. And I mean, she takes the humor thing like to the umpteenth level. She dresses up in Harry Potter costumes. She makes these videos for her. Like, she's hysterical, and it seems so effortless. I'm definitely not volunteering to make like comedy videos to send out to my teachers. I don't think I'm brave enough for that yet. But like, I don't know. I think that also makes people, if you can add in a sense of humor or show your personality, that makes people want to click on or view or read something that you're sending out to the staff. So, I mean, I feel like I do that a little bit, but I could probably improve and be a little bit more intentional about that.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder too, even like, I know there's probably like a channel that you have to go to for approval on this. But like even creating a little logo, right? Like even if you're a team of 1, you don't have to have a whole team of coaches, but come up like, what's your department name? What department do you fall under? Like, I don't know, come up with something, and definitely go through the right channels to get it approved. But even slapping that bad boy on everything could be helpful. So. Okay. Well, I'm like, my mind's racing now on some things that we could be doing. But we are going to take a very quick break from our sponsor.
Instructional coaches support teachers, students, administrators, and really everyone in the district. In fact, research shows that instructional coaching is one of the most impactful forms of professional development that results in improved teacher instruction and student achievement. But who is supporting the coach? Forward Edge provides multiple year-long mentorship options recommended by the Google for Education Certified Coach Program to help you gain the valued support you need as an instructional coach. Visit forward-edge.net to start giving PD to the ultimate PD providers. Looking for a program that reaches all teachers and learning new tools to integrate in their lessons? Edu Badges is the answer. Edu is an anytime, anywhere badging program that is designed to take bite-sized tools for instruction and teach teachers how to use them. Edu has received the ISTE Seal of Alignment for Educator Standards, and each badge in our expanding library is aligned to the ISTE standards and the SAMR model. Learn more about the program that teachers call addicting at forward-edge.net/edubadges. All right, welcome back. It's Justin Thomas. We have Dr. Katie Ritter, and we have Anna Marie Reinhardt and Paige Greavy joining us, talking about how you can market yourself and make some visually appealing materials for you to be able to market yourself in your school districts. Now, at our coaches camp, Paige and Anna Marie actually have a session on discussing how you can actually market yourself more and create some of these awesome visual elements. Obviously, we are a podcast, so that makes things a little bit different. But Paige, what are some quick tips that you can audibly explain to us to make things more visually appealing as you are creating some of these materials?
Yeah, I think a few key things that come to mind are just embracing white space. You don't need to fill a slide to make it very compelling and visually appealing. If you have an icon instead of a bullet point to kind of depict a certain key point you're trying to get across, you can use that icon and then a brief description underneath to really describe what that icon is trying to portray. It makes for a really easy to understand presentation, and you don't want your slides to have every single piece of information that you're going to say. You want to kind of ad lib a little bit because that's the point of a great presentation, is that you're not just reading from the slides. You want to have it, be consistent with what you're saying, but also kind of draw them in and make them really think about the story you're trying to get across. So I would say embrace white space, using icons. We like to say imitate and recreate. If you find something that you like, a lot of it, if you really look at a certain slide, you can see the basic shapes that are making up, a larger graphic, and you can really kind of do it yourself. It's simple in slides to use basic shapes. It's easier in Canva, especially if you have, icons that you can kind of pull and source from them. But a lot of it is, if you find something you like, you need inspiration, I would recommend turning to Google search and just kind of type in what you're thinking and then see if there's anything that just like sparks creativity, and really kind of just try and recreate it the best you can. And not that you can't source things, but a lot of times without, correct rights and or purchasing like an image, you can't really get the message across that you're trying to get. So recreating it is probably your best avenue in that. And then also, ordering front to back, layering shapes. Anna Maria?
Yeah, I'm going to chime in. One of the tips that Paige gave on our team is to kind of include, like, specifically related to a presentation, right? Kind of like a progress tracker, giving participants or attendees or whoever is supposed to be receiving this information an idea of how much of it they've got left, right? It's kind of like when you're taking a survey and there's a progress bar at the top and you're like, okay, I'm almost to the end. And that could be using numbers and changing the colors. That could be, using icons, like Paige said, as your agenda and changing the color of the icons, like as you're going through presenting your information. I think everybody kind of appreciates having a gauge on, this is what we've covered, this is where we're going, and this is the end.
I like that.
Yeah, it's nice because it gives you kind of that, you know where you're at in the presentation. Even too, if you need to go back on something, I can't remember, it was the third bucket point that was there, and I remember it because I had the graphic there that was it's highlighted out. So that's perfect. Any specific ideas on if you're kind of creating with using? Is there any colors or ordering or anything that's kind of for the best look or feel of a presentation?
I am a big fan of not using outlines and instead using drop shadow if you're in slides, or any sort of kind of drop shadow that you could get from a like in Canva, if you do adding another shape behind a shape and adjusting the transparency. I think that is really, it looks nice. It kind of gets it from being 2D to a little bit of a 3D, and it makes it, pop.
Yeah, I drop shadow everything now.
I know. Me too. Me too. I mean, I think another thing that you've spoken about before is, high contrast. So if you're doing a dark background using light text, one of the points of information or tips that Paige has given us that always kind of resonates with me is replace the same with the same. So if you're going into Canva and you're taking a template that's been designed by a professional, someone who does this for a living, don't go totally rogue and just scrap it all, right? Maybe find a font that looks similar to the one that you're replacing, or at least keep the color the same. These people have this job for a reason, so we should kind of take their lead.
They know what they're doing.
Yes.
People like what they create.
Also with just slides or even, graphics in general, creating a hierarchy and using scale to really scale and color to get your point across. You can have pops of color that'll draw your eye in to a specific point that you want to make. Making it bigger obviously is going to make people gravitate towards that first. And then, people always read left to right. So keep that in mind when you're creating something.
I feel like I'm slow on the response because my mind is going a little bit crazy with things that I want to go back and do or maybe stop doing. So hopefully our listeners are getting all kinds of ideas too right now. But okay, so both of you, what are some of your favorite programs or resources to make marketing materials with?
Well, Canva. I know. That has been such a lifesaver. What would take, our team hours potentially in Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop now takes 10 to 15 minutes in Canva. It's really amazing, and it's so easy to use. And I know education professionals.
We know what you mean. Professional.
Educators get Canva Pro for free. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anne-Marie can speak more to that.
Yeah, I would second that for sure. Canva's the best. And I just like that there's so many template choices. I always encourage teachers, if they're familiar with Canva or if they've tried it out before, I'm like, we all love Google Slides, but we've all seen those themes a million times. And even some other websites that have a huge library of themes to choose from, you've kind of seen them, been there, done that. Canva has so many, or, business cards. I mean, for a coach, right? You could design your own business cards, or maybe it's a card with your name, your role, and a QR code that takes them somewhere else to, some other cool thing you've designed to better explain what you do. Or maybe it's a QR code that takes them to a video that better explains your role, something like that. I just think there's so much opportunity to create in Canva. You really can find a template for virtually anything you would ever need to make, especially as a coach.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely taking over even what I would have recommended things a few years ago. It just increasingly, I see more and more because I always would use Google Slides, because you can change the page size, right? So if you want to print an 8.5 by 11, you can change Google Slides, and it's a lot easier to manipulate than a Google Doc with adding images to it. But even that now, I'm finding myself. A lot of times I'll find myself going to design a header or something if I want, but I'm almost always using Canva in something. I mean, I brand even every Google form I send, it's branded. And I just use in Canva, the Google Classroom header template size, and that's the perfect size for a Google form to upload it. So I find myself doing very little that I haven't touched Canva on. So Canva, if you're listening, you can sponsor the podcast.
Yeah, my God. I think we've said it 100 times.
Oh yeah, and even too, you can think of some of those things if you got a quick moment. Just some things you would send in an email. I mean, you can easily create something in Canva for it, data points on certain percentage of students have been reached in a proficiency or something, it's going to look a lot cooler with the drop shadow
Oh, yeah.
in a presentation than it is if it's just listed out in a number form. So
Hashtag drop shadow.
yeah, hashtag drop shadow there. And even too, one kind of crazy thing, we had it was like a little mini carnival thing that we were going to have at the school that I was at before COVID happened. But we actually use like the business card to make like their ticket to like
I
the
love
little
it.
carnival.
Yeah.
So like,
Oh, cute.
yeah, some different ideas out there. But as we all know here on the Restart Recharge, we like to finish our show with our top 3 tips. So I didn't get a drum roll that time. I didn't know if I was.
I'm sorry.
All right, okay. Top 3 tips. All right, so here we go with our top 3 tips. Paige and Anna Marie, what are your top 3 tips for marketing yourself for success?
Number 1, I would say get to the point right away. You've got those 2 to 5 seconds to really draw somebody in. 2, which I forgot to mention earlier, is you have potentially up to 7 times before people actually receive your message that you're putting out there. So if they don't answer your email, or if they aren't filling out the QR code that you've set them, keep trying, keep adjusting your message, and keep trying different, placements to get really the best reception from them. So, and then using consistent design elements. You got to build your brand, and we talked about a couple of different options of what that looks like. But as a coach, I think the best thing you can do is just really put yourself out there, show who you are as a person, and get them excited about what you can do for them.
Love it.
All right. I would say keep it simple. Some of these are going to be very similar to Paige's. So keeping it simple, because keeping in mind that you have a limited amount of time, especially if we're talking about teachers, admin, like we want them to be able to look at what you've created and understand it quickly. And also kind of considering that cognitive load aspect. Like we don't want them to have to exercise a whole lot of effort to understand what you've given them. I would say number 2, show your personality. I think that goes a long way. And hopefully it will help people look forward to what you're sending out or giving them. And then 3rd, kind of like what Paige said, I would say, she talked about 7 times potentially that people need to look at something to understand it. My version of that is like try different methods. So if sending out things via email isn't working, print something out and stick it in their mailboxes. Maybe do both. If both of those aren't working, maybe hang stuff in the hallway. Just like keep trying. Don't get discouraged. Just keep trying different things, because chances are, like we know about our students in the classroom, people learn in different ways. You may have teachers who would prefer to look at something and read it in paper form rather than looking at another email. So I would just say keep trying. Don't give up. Try different things.
Perfect. Those are great tips from both of you to kind of market yourself. And obviously this is going to air early in the school year, so you can start to use these ideas as you go through. Disclaimer, we got an awesome soundproof studio here. If you look at the soundproof side from our...
That's not so soundproof.
From what we can control, we soundproofed it on everything on our side, but looks like we might be getting new neighbors in the building next to us, and that's right up where this is. So they're doing construction. So if you've heard beeping and drilling and banging and clanging and sounds like an earthquake or something, there's a reason why. We're hoping that that's not really going to come through and you're going to think we're just making stuff up. But just in case there's construction going on right on the other side of this wall, if you can hear that. So
We did not bring the new neighbors cookies yet.
we did not, no.
Maybe they're being extra loud until we bring them a welcome to the neighborhood gift.
Tune in next time for another episode. We're going to make this a little 2-part series. This is the first part, because the second part is going to be ideas to market yourself using Canva. So we're actually going to have Jill Du Bois back on, and she'll be joined by Tisha Richmond, who is a Canva learning consultant, to learn a little bit more how we can use Canva as both a coach and a teacher to create amazing materials. So both Tisha and Jill are also authors, so we'll take a look at how they've kind of used Canva as illustrations and as well for sharing their ideas out there into the EdTech world.
Yeah, and we are super excited about that because, as you can tell, our team here at Forward Edge, not only our coaching team, but even our marketing team, we like Canva. So with that, be sure to subscribe to Restart Recharge wherever you listen to podcasts. And we would love a rating and review if you have time to do that for us. That just subscribing, rating, and reviewing always helps other people find the podcast. So if you find it helpful, we'd appreciate that. And then, of course, be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at RRCoachCast.
And feel free to reach out to us if there's any ideas or topics on your mind. Also, why not? Feel free to share any cool creations you've made to market yourself out in your school districts.
So press the restart button.
Recharge your coaching batteries and leave feeling equipped and inspired to coach fearlessly with the Restart Recharge podcast.
A Tech Coach Collective.
Sometimes I feel like I just can't talk.
It's okay. We understand.
I was like, I don't do boring.
We could put a disclaimer. So sorry.
We'll say it at the end.
At the end, okay.
Yeah, when you say, before you say tune in next time, just be like, we're sorry, we tried to stop. There's construction going on next door to where we're recording this, so sorry.
You're not losing your mind. There are beeps.